The night began like any other episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Lights were bright, the audience buzzing, and Harrison Ford walked on set to roaring applause. At 80, the legendary actor still carried the same charisma that made him Han Solo and Indiana Jones. Kimmel cracked his usual jokes, teasing Ford's age, his gruff interviews, and his reluctance towards social media. At first, Ford played along with dry smiles and short answers, but soon the tone shifted. One too many jabs, and the veteran actor's patience started to wear thin. The jokes stopped being funny and started feeling pointed. Ford's eyes narrowed. He leaned forward slightly, and with a quiet, cutting tone, he asked, "You done making fun of me, or should I come back when I'm dead?" The audience chuckled nervously, but Ford wasn't smiling. Something had changed. Kimmel tried to recover. He chuckled and brushed it off with, "Come on, Harrison. People love your grumpy vibe. It's part of the charm." But Ford wasn't amused. He looked Kimmel in the eye and said, "That charm you're talking about? It's called being tired of people not listening." The room went quiet. Kimmel shifted in his seat, unsure how to respond. Harrison continued, his voice low and firm. "I've spent my life telling stories, risking everything to bring characters to life, and all I ever get on these shows is someone trying to turn me into a joke." The tension was thick. For the first time, Kimmel seemed rattled. Okay, let's talk about the new film," he said quickly, but Ford wasn't ready to move on just yet. "You want to talk about film, then treat it with respect, or don't ask at all." Still trying to bring the interview back to safer ground, Kimmel asked about the latest Indiana Jones movie. "Fifth time cracking the whip, huh?" he quipped, but Ford wasn't playing along. He replied, "It's not about cracking whips. It's about legacy. You make it sound like a circus act." The crowd wasn't sure how to react, applaud, laugh, or stay silent. Kimmel gave a nervous smile and said, "Okay, Harrison, lighten up." That was the trigger. Ford leaned back, crossed his arms, and said, "There it is. Lighten up. Because God forbid I expect an actual conversation." The silence that followed was deafening. Everyone on set could feel it. This was no longer a light interview. It was raw, real, and heading straight for an unforgettable moment. Kimmel, still holding on to his host persona, tried to laugh it off again. "Look, I'm just trying to make people smile," he said. But Ford replied, "Making people smile shouldn't come at the cost of someone else's dignity." It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The weight of his words spoke volumes. The crowd was locked in, sensing they were witnessing something rare, a Hollywood icon refusing to be mocked. "I've done over 50 films, played some of the most iconic roles in cinema, and all you want is a soundbite," he continued. Kimmel looked down at his notes, realizing his usual formula wasn't working this time. Ford's gaze was sharp, unmoving. He wasn't angry. He was disappointed, and that made it hit harder. Then came the final push. Kimmel, clearly nervous, tried a joke about Ford's plane crashes. "I heard you're still flying. Should we all be worried?" The crowd chuckled. Ford didn't. "You think nearly dying is funny?" he asked coldly. The energy in the room collapsed. Kimmel stammered, No, I mean, just, it's brave." But Ford cut him off. "Brave is walking into a room where you know they'll mock you and showing up anyway." He slowly reached down, unclipped his microphone, and stood up. "I came here out of respect for my fans, not to be turned into a meme." The camera tried to adjust. The producers scrambled, but it was too late. Ford was already walking off. The audience sat frozen as Harrison Ford disappeared behind the curtain. Kimmel stared blankly at the now empty seat. For once, the host had nothing witty to say. The cameras kept rolling in silence. Then came the forced fade-out to a commercial. No applause, no laughter. Just an entire room stunned into silence. The internet, of course, exploded minutes later. Clips of the moment. were posted, reposted, and dissected. Viewers on every platform weighed in, some shocked, others cheering Ford's bravery. Many felt Kimmel had crossed a line. "This wasn't funny, it was embarrassing," one tweet read. And just like that, a late-night interview became a cultural moment. Overnight, the hashtags "Just Respect Harrison" and "Kimmel Clash" began trending. Fans defended Ford, calling him a legend who deserved better. Others accused Kimmel of turning interviews into roast sessions. The backlash wasn't just about one joke. It was about how older stars are treated in media. Ford's walkout had touched a nerve. People were tired of ageism disguised as humor, of legends being treated like relics. Entertainment journalists wrote full breakdowns. Commentators called it one of the most powerful moments in recent live TV. And all the while, Harrison Ford said nothing. No tweet, no interview, no statement, just silence, and that made it even louder. Kimmel's team quickly tried to do damage control. A shortened version of the interview was uploaded to YouTube, cutting out most of the tension. But the internet never forgets. The raw clips were already out. People were sharing the unedited footage, writing think pieces, and praising Ford's dignity. "That's how you set boundaries," read one viral post. Others drew comparisons to similar moments from other actors who'd had enough. Ford's moment wasn't seen as a meltdown. It was a stand, a quiet refusal to let a lifetime of art be reduced to one-liners. For younger generations watching, it was a lesson in self-respect. Kimmel issued a public apology the next day. "Harrison, Ford is a hero of mine. Things didn't go as planned, and I regret how it played out," he said. But for many it rang hollow. The damage was done. Ford's message had already resonated across the globe. People replayed the clip, not to laugh, but to learn. "We saw a man defend his dignity," one commenter wrote. Studios and networks began rethinking their approach. PR teams urged hosts to be more respectful. The fallout had real consequences. Not because of anger, but because of honesty. Ford hadn't exploded. He hadn't ranted. He had simply walked away. And in walking away, Harrison Ford made one of the loudest statements of his career. No explosions, no stunts, no chase scenes. Just one man tired of being underestimated, standing his ground. It wasn't just about Jimmy Kimmel. It was about every place where respect is sacrificed for entertainment. Ford reminded the world that legends don't need to roar. They only need to speak once with truth. And when that truth is ignored, they have the power to rise, walk away, and take the spotlight with them. Long after the cameras stopped rolling, the moment lived on, not as controversy, but as a legacy.